I want to go back. He wants to go back. I want to go back to the farm. Go back far away from home, with a milk pail on my arm. I miss the rooster, the one that used to wake me up at 4 a.m. down on the farm.
I'm Scott Boehm. They call me the old farmer. Well, it's that time of year to put the snow blade back onto the tractor. I was able to take it off last year, and I'm able to put it on this year. This is some scenes from last year's snow removal. When I bought the tractor and when we moved in, the first year, it took 2 people to help me put that snow blade on because it weighs about 250 pounds. It's a heavy little brute. So it took 2 other people besides myself to get it on. But living out here in the country and starting to do the things that need to be done takes some effort, and it helps bring back stamina, and it increases your strength. So I was able to move this 250-pound snow blade around by myself. And yes, it was an effort. I'm not going to deny that it wasn't an effort. It certainly was. But I was able to use the hand truck and take the time, and by being careful, I was able to bring it up on the driveway. Now, it wasn't helpful at all that the ground was still soft, so the wheels were sinking in a little bit. But I slowly was able to work it up onto the driveway, and from that point on, it wasn't too big of a problem. Yeah, I was using just about all the strength of my legs to move it across the lawn here, and we're getting there. And of course, it wasn't level ground, so I had to keep it balanced when it wanted to tip over. But with due diligence and with a little bit of caution, I was able to get it up onto the driveway. And then when I tipped it over, I wanted to have it sitting on a block or 2 so that I could move things around with a frame jack so that I could lift it up as needed. Next, I took the Farmall tractor and pulled it out and drove it over the top of the blade. The frame goes between the 2 wheels, or rather the 4 wheels, 2 on each side. And it took me several attempts to line it up just the way it needs to be, because that's an exact fit. It's doing it without being able to see really where things are. But I have 3/4 inch bolt that goes through, and I have to line it up as close as I can so that the bolt can go through everything. And I apologize for a little bit of the wiggly on the camera here, but I wanted to move it around to kind of show you. There's the bolt that I'm using to put into the frame to hold the snow blade in place. And then I used a frame jack to raise it up and down so that I can stick the bolt through. And it isn't the best shot here, but you get the idea of what I have to do. Push it through, and the snow blade frame isn't positioned quite right, so I have to adjust it with a frame jack. There we go, and luckily when it's close like that, I was able to shove it in a little bit, and then with a beveled front end, I was able to hammer that into place. I was able to hammer that into place and make it fit in. And then it's onto the other side. And of course, I put lubrication in there. That helps tremendously. A little WD-40 and makes all the difference in the world. Now, this frame jack isn't as exact as what you really need for something like this, and so I had to worry it up and down until I got it just about where it needs to be. Taking the hammer around, and I'm finishing the installation of the one bolt. And when it goes through, you put a washer on and you put the clip on to keep it from coming back out. And getting down and getting back up like that isn't as easy as when I was in my 20s. But I'm still able to do it. I take my time. And now I have to line things up exactly to put the other bolt in. I decided to go around to the same side as I did with the other bolts, just spraying a little bit of the oil. And that makes a big difference on putting these pins in when you know that things aren't exactly correct. So it's basically hammering it through, adjusting things, making sure that it all lines up. And by the time you get done, everything is lined up. And so it's putting the washer on and then the pin to hold it in place. The next step is to take the chain, and I have it setting on the deck of the tractor, pulling it out and hooking it onto the frame of the blade because it's a hydraulic system that lifts it up, and then the weight of the blade pulls it back down again. You'll get a better angle from this way. That's why I moved the camera. You can see the big eye bolt on the frame of the snow blade. And there is a catch for the chain. Put it through the eye bolt. And you bring it up and you hook it. There's a hook on it to hook it in place. Previously, I had gone through and hooked up the hydraulics. I mounted the hydraulics on the side and did the electrical connections. Now remember, an original Farmall A has a positive ground. The original Farmall A has a positive ground, not a negative ground like you would find on most equipment today. So hooking it up is a little bit different than what you would do with a normal tractor on it. But I got it all hooked up. And I was having problems with the hydraulics on it. First I thought maybe I had some air in the lines so it wouldn't lift it. Now I've got it up high enough so I can move it around. The chain's going to be high enough so I can back it in the garage. But I called the company out. The guy's name is Nick, and he worked on getting the hydraulics working on it. And we came to a conclusion with his expertise and my 10 thumbs that the pump was bad. So he pulled the hydraulic system apart, and he pulled the pump out, and he's going to see if he can get a replacement. This is the control that I use for raising and lowering the snow blade. And this is the wiring from the back of the snow blade control. You can see the little spade connector there. It hooks up at that point, and then it goes over to the solenoid. And you can see where it's connected to the solenoid, the blue line. Now the power to operate the motor of the hydraulics comes through, and I'll show you in just a second, but that's the hydraulic point that lifts everything up. That's the motor that actually runs it, the hydraulics, and that's where the hydraulic pump is. And of course you've seen the reservoir tank, and the pump is inside, and just above that arrow you can see where it's electrically connected. That's where it's connected on that side. I strung it through the tractor and to the solenoid. If you see up to the left, you can see where the blue control wires connected, and you can see where the power is connected. So just today, Nick is checking to see if he can get a replacement pump, and if not, then see if he can get a replacement unit for the hydraulic system. And so he's going to let me know. He does a real good job. He works on old tractors and skid steers and such. And people like Nick are hard to find. So I appreciate his efforts on it. And hopefully by the first snow, we'll have the tractor running. Because everything else has been repaired, other than a slight leak in one of the seals, but I'll just monitor that and add oil as need be, and maybe next spring replace those seals. But we'll be able to lift the blade higher than I did last year, and hopefully we can take care of the snow this year. So this is the old farmer, Scott Boehm, saying, "Be well."
Down on the farm.